The scripture reading is taken from the book of Matthew, chapter 5, verses 43 through 45, in the New Revised Standard Version of the Bible. You have heard that it was said, "You shall love your neighbor and hate your enemy." But I tell you, love your enemies. Bless those who curse you. Do good to those who hate you, and pray for those who mistreat you and persecute you, that you may be the children of your Father who is in heaven. For he makes his sun to rise on the evil and the good, and sends rains on the just and the unjust. And thus concludes the scripture reading, Matthew chapter 5, verses 43 through 45. According to Dr. Rocco Errico, a Bible scholar and expert in the Aramaic language, the language of Jesus, hate is not in the Hebrew Bible. Dr. Errico states that Moses never instructed anyone to hate their enemies. The word hate must have appeared in a commentary in earlier versions of the Bible, and then it would have been transcribed into scripture. Dr. Eric also states that if Moses had said, "Hate your enemy," Jesus would have said, "It is written" beforehand. Also in Leviticus chapter 19, verse 18, Moses says, "You shall not take vengeance or bear any grudge against the sons of your people, but you shall love your neighbor as yourself. I am the Lord." Still, according to Dr. Errico, people disliked people who were from different tribes at the time, even if they were from the same race. They would fight, and they would fight to death. They will also kill young children. But Moses also would tell his people to help anyone, regardless of which tribe they were part of. Now there's a lot of conflicts in the world right now. There's a lot of thirst for power, or simply people not loving their neighbors. Men in power instruct their armies to attack their neighbors for more power, for greed. Sometimes it happens for a long time, for centuries. There are old, dormant conflicts. It doesn't always make sense to us. Don't you sometimes wonder why humans have this urge to hurt others? Love your neighbors and love your enemies. It's easier said than done, right? Particularly when tribes or races have been fighting for years, and then there's a grudge and desire for revenge on both sides. It can happen with large-scale conflicts, but also with small ones. I find that one of the hardest things we have to do in life is managing relationships. We have to manage relationships with our families, our friends, our co-workers, and then, something happens, someone says something, we get irritated, and then, bam, conflict. Conflicts, they're damaging to everyone involved. Conflicts are made of energies that are directed from one person or a group of people to another person or another group of people. And in most cases, again, it hurts anyone, all those involved. When we have ill will against others, we send those harmful energies into the universe. And with our narrow understanding of life, we don't always consider that our thoughts and our actions go much further than what we can see with the naked eye. We don't always consider our interconnectedness. We don't consider the interconnectedness that we have with all of life. This scripture talks about hating our neighbors, but really, there is no neighbor. There is no separation between us and the person next to us. Quantum physics has shown that we are all composed of subatomic particles, and we are all connected. We are all one. So in essence, when we fight someone, we fight ourselves. When we get into conflicts, again, we forget that there is no separation between us and those who we are in conflict with. We also lose track of the fact that there are many lateral laws in action at all times. The laws of cause and effect, the law of attraction, and many more. And these energies that we send into the universe, it creates a ripple effect, and then they come back to us in one shape or form. Those energies that we send into the universe affect others, but in the end, they affect us, ourselves. Hatred creates more hatred. Vengeance creates more vengeance. And it's a vicious cycle. And we have to break that cycle. So when we get involved into a conflict, we must change those energies for the good of the world, but actually also for our own good. Also, what we send into the universe, we send to God, our universe, our universal creator, the source of all things. So how can we say that we love God if we send harmful energies to our source, to God? So we must catch ourselves. We must catch ourselves. We must neutralize those harmful energies. We must be self-aware at all times. And when we're self-aware and we're honest with ourselves, we can catch ourselves when we're about to send those harmful energies into the world. It's not always easy, particularly at first. But you know what? When we notice, we can catch ourselves, and then we can bless the situation. We send love and light to the situation, and also to those affected by the situation. And then we affirm the most benevolent outcome for those energies that we just sent, so we can transmute them. We hear of wars, and then we judge, and we take sides. Sometimes we even feel happy when a group that is, let's just say on the other side, gets hurt. We forget that we are all children of God. We forget that we are all interconnected. We forget that the mothers and the fathers are losing their children to war. Can you imagine losing a child to war? I don't want to imagine what it's like for a mother to lose her son or daughter, because it shouldn't happen. There should not be any side. We should not take sides. Because in wars, everybody loses. So instead of focusing on anger and the conflict and the war, we need to bless it and send light to it. We need to send light to the group of individuals or to those situations. And when we do this, we transmute the energies of war into beautiful energies of love. When we sit down with intention, we have the power to change the energies and the situation. And then, when we do it collectively, the power is multiplied or amplified. You know, many spiritual leaders do energy work. They meditate and then they transmute energies, and they do that at the individual level. But many of them also have groups that gather and meditate together with intention, and they transmute the energies of war into energies of peace. And given that they're doing it together, those energies are even stronger. Even Reverend Jackson has a world healing meditation every Monday night. And when you join that meditation, you transmute energies of war into energies of peace and love. Studies demonstrate that when a computer generates 2 pictures randomly, and people focus their intention on a specific picture, the number of times that the picture will show is greater. And then after several people get together and do the same thing, they focus on the same picture, that same picture is going to show even more often. So you can meditate on your own. But if you can, try joining a healing meditation that is held in a group, so that you can send greater intentions and energies to create better outcome. Another important thing is to not always put our attention on the conflicts themselves, because we are co-creators. Remember, our thoughts affect the cosmic forces that create the world around us. So when we binge watch the news, particularly the negative news, we reinforce energies and then we perpetuate them. There's a fine line between staying informed and overindulging in negative news. Our actions, our thoughts, and what we put our attention on, those things create the world around us. So we have to be very mindful of what we focus on, because that is what we create. Individuals on this earth make a beautiful tapestry of beings, and it's our duty to recognize that we are all different, but at the same time, we are all alike. We all come from the same source. We all have that beautiful divine spark inside of ourselves, and we all face challenges too, perhaps of different magnitudes, but we all face challenges. We all experience grief. We all experience pain. We all experience suffering. But it is what we do with that pain and that grief and that suffering that really creates our path. Our decisions and our feelings and actions towards those emotions that we have, however intense they may be, they determine who and ultimately who and the life that is ahead of us. So some will choose to stay focused on the anger, and others are going to make a different choice. They're going to choose to let go of the anger. Many years ago, a traumatic event made me very, very angry. Some people were saying I had all the right to be angry. But one day, it really occurred to me that I was hurting myself by staying angry. That anger that I was carrying, it was destroying me. This conflict was preventing me from enjoying my life, from actually living my life. I realized one day that the anger that I was carrying was in the way of my having a good life. Now, the perpetrators live far away, and they probably didn't suffer any consequences. So here I was, in pain, in anger, and they were living a good life. So I had two options. I could stay angry, unhappy, maybe for the rest of my life, or I could let go. I chose to let go. Now, you might think that it was hard to let go, but actually it wasn't. Because once I realized that deep inside of me, it was hurting me, and actually it was hurting no one else but me. That's all it took. It was a choice. And you know what? When I made that decision to let go, it was like a big weight got lifted off my shoulders. And that big weight was the energy of the anger that I was carrying. And as soon as I decided to let go, I felt lighter, because it's all it took. It was the intention. So when something unpleasant comes our way, it is our choice to decide what we're going to do with it. Now, we can take it like a spear in the heart, into our consciousness, or we can just let it pass by us. We don't have to accept pain and anger into our consciousness. We can acknowledge it. When something comes our way, we can just go like, I see it, I recognize it, but I don't want it. I don't want to let it hurt me. And then we bless it. We affirm the highest and most benevolent outcome for this energy. Despite all our emotions, we love God. And if we love God, we love our enemies, we love our neighbors, we love everyone. Now, we might not appreciate their coats of many colors. We might not appreciate their personalities. But our personality is just a layer on top of our pure essence. And deep inside, all beings are beautiful. Because deep inside, that divine spark lives. Deep inside, the divine spark lives within everyone. So when we stay focused on the oneness, and when we stay focused on who and what we are, that pure essence of God, we can love anyone, even if it takes practice. Because love is what we are. And love is what our enemies are too. Love. We are all part of Source. We can all support each other instead of destroying each other. Now, supporting each other, it also means that we can uplift everyone. We can uplift anyone who's suffering. We can offer our healing energies to those places in the world that are affected by conflicts. Love your neighbors. Love your enemy. Love yourself. Just love. Namaste.